Vit Dokal. So Vit is Director, International Neurodegenerative Disorders Research Center, NRDC, Czech Republic. My second speaker is Lalit Patil. He is Clara Ethics and Clara Ethics and Security Specialist, International Development Research Center, Czech Republic. Our third speaker is I'll call out. So our third speaker is Ms. Aarti Sivananda ma'am, Senior Partner, AZB and Partners. So I invite you onto the dais. So myself, Ramesh, I moderate the session, but this is not a panel discussion, this is a workshop, so we will have a series of talks. At the end, we will have a Q&A session from the audience. So myself, Ramesh, I am Scientist F, look after AI activities in CDAC Bangalore. Thank you so much. Now I call upon Dr. Lalit to start his session.
Hello, good morning, good noon, good afternoon all. We are just 4.5 hours prior to India. We are based in Czech Republic, Prague. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lalit Patil. I'm specialized in data privacy and AI compliance in European Union, and I work with Clara and INDRC as ethics and security specialist. It's just a compliance guy there. So I just got this 15 minutes here, so I'll try to sum up and focus on important points from compliance perspective. As I understand that it's afternoon and we all, Indians, we all go for lunch and for this time as well. So, okay. And today I'm speaking on safe AI from cross-compliance perspective. Cross-compliance here is India and EU. It's the perspective I'm considering for this session. India with 1.4 billion people and European Union with 450 million people. So it's a one country with 1.4 billion people, and it's a union of states, countries with 450 million people. They have dedicated EU AI Act prior to innovations and prior to AI developments, but we as a 1.4 billion people, we don't have dedicated particular AI Act. It seems like, okay, we are something, okay, there is a gap, but it's not. It's actually a blessing, we can say. It's because we are focusing more on innovation than regulation presently, because if we consider EU AI Act, it's one of the strictest act in the world, and if you consider your AI developments or your company to work in EU, you have to comply with EU AI Act with stricter regulations and so much of compliance. But it's actually necessary from point of view, if we develop something, it has to be very safe, especially with the AI. So considering that, it depends what's safe AI for you and what's safe AI for European Union. So there are some criteria from European Union AI Act that we might consider that these are the parameters for safe AI. So it depends, it's solely based on risk classification. You are a company working in India, it has implications, your users are from European Union. It's still you have to comply with EU AI Act, and which makes a very difficult for companies to do cross-border compliance. Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's okay. So it starts with classifying risk. If you are a company who wants to work in EU and makes a cross border compliance. It starts with high-risk AI system, correct classification of systems, which is high-risk AI systems, limited risk, minimum risk AI system. So if you know that your system is very basic or is high risk, it depends, and you are getting categorized for which compliance and what compliance you might need to consider for your AI. Even if you do this compliance, that's okay. You categorize us under high risk AI systems such as military AI or AI system developed for military or something social profiling or something. So it still falls under this. Your personal data is being shared with this AI system. So you need to consider that high risk AI system or low risk AI system, depending on it. The AI Act is something that commissions consider very stricter regulations, and considering that all of the companies in Europe are demanding getting extension for compliance. If we consider same with India, I mean, we are open, we don't have regulation. You know, every time you use when we consider AI, we mostly use Gemini, ChatGPT, and the kind of AI models which are available. Okay, but there are many other things that we need to consider, and nobody reads their AI policies or privacy policy. It's just very common. It's very obvious that we can't read their privacy policies throughout, word by word. So that's why if the regulation makes any system or any application or any AI safe by its regulation or by compliance, it's that users don't have to bother about whether it's safe or not. It's regulated by some regulation which is very strict, which is very reliant. So it's better to rely on such application. So even if it's now, the second parameter could be risk classification. If it's high, we go with the continuous risk management. Now you have passed the system that, okay, it's a high risk, it's a moderate or it's a lower risk system. You still have to continue with this classification continued till you are using it and till the companies are deploying it. Now, if you're a company, you're not just classified as just a company or just an AI user or AI deployer. It has classification like AI deployer, AI manufacturer, AI promoter. Depending on it, you are making some changes into AI systems. It another categorizes you into using your trademark or using your system, which makes it reliable that who actually is operating this and who actually deploying it. Now, as I said, that the continuous risk classification gives a track record of identifying risks, mitigating them, and not just reduce those risks and for our use so that it get comply. Now, for developing such an AI in European Union or any other, it's like it depends on a data, because all AI is based on data which is being shared by us, and data sets that's available on public domain or is a private. So if their data sets or these data sets are biased somehow, the results are going to be biased. Let's consider we have this data that works on how our platelets are going to increase or decrease, and if the European Union or the different race people or our Indian race people or any other, if it's something biased, then actually it's going to give something different. So the authentication of this data set continuously is one of the parameters that we can consider for safe AI. Another is a technical documentation, what system you are using, what design you are going to detail in it, and risk management steps along with testing methods. If you cannot explain your AI system, that means you know that you cannot prove it that it is safe. Coming further is transparency to users. Now we are at the end of AI Summit. I guess we will come with some rules in India as well, that all of users or something which is created by AI should be mentioning there like it is being created by AI. So this is transparency to users that, okay, what we are looking, what we are witnessing, what results are generated by AI, how they are developed, and how they are being what purpose it is developed for. And human oversight, the another parameter is human oversight. You develop something AI for developing a website, you develop any application for this, and you have to continuously oversight. Every time you edit your prompt in the chat GPT, just like putting your edit option there, and you can change that. That's a human oversight. Anytime between the system, anytime between the development, if there is a human oversight that considers, okay, it is safer, that it is not generating something different that we want. It is not, if there is something risk, we are going to mitigate in between. So that's one of the parameter, like human oversight. It's not just we are going to get this AI system completely automated. Every time in between we can interact and change according to us. That's the human oversight. That's one of the parameter. It is a safe AI. Now, accuracy of the AI, robustness, and cybersecurity. We might have used, and most of us heard ChatGPT, but how many of you have heard Lumo by Proton? It's a Swiss-based privacy chatbot or GPAI, general purpose AI. So sometimes we give prompt to ChatGPT or any other AI model, it gives some accurate or some results. But if we use some kind of another like Lumo or any other which are developing themselves for privacy perspective, and there is no, they sometimes give, okay, we are not working on it, like we can't give something, error comes out. That's the accuracy. So why this is important? You're working your health data, you're using that health data or getting some outputs from these AI deployments or AI agents, and you got, okay, my blood pressure is just 120, but why it's showing from last day it's 180? It's generated by AI, so accuracy is more than important. You don't want to get wrong medication by when we use AI in health sector. At INDRC, we use this health data to find a probable solution for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and simultaneously cybersecurity. So every time I visit most of these public places, they have something passwords like Delhi @123 or something kind of, right? Everyone, but that was the cybersecurity for AI. Just in time something happens like a data poisoning. We have these data sets, and if they are poisoned somehow to get some results, which we are not going to believe that, okay, these are the data, we just know the output of the data. But considering that this poisonous of the data, we must have secured cybersecurity standards, which is one of the parameters that we consider for safe AI. And post-market monitoring. So you deployed the AI, and even if the post-market monitoring is very important, considering the feedback from the users, monitor real-world problems and performance, and take corrective action where it is required. AI system evolve, and monitoring ensures ongoing safety, just like models we are receiving day by day. This is XYZ model with another version. So these are the parameters of safe AI. There could be more parameters from AI perspective, from Indian perspective, because Indian laws or Indian legal system is not very strict or lenient. Considering our political and personal, our constitutional value, we might have more parameters, add or subtract from these parameters. Along with it, now I come with, now this is the first part, like, okay, safe AI, now it's a cross-compliance. Cross-compliance is just it's like you're working in another country with another users according to their values, according to their standards. So for this cross-compliance, it means, okay, we don't have to read GDPR, we don't have to read AI Act, it's nothing like that. It means if your company, if your AI is working in any other countries for users, we have to comply with their values, we have to comply with their acts. So how can we do these things? Okay, we have developed something for Indian market, we have developed something for European market. There could be possibilities that some of the safety standards are different, but either we have to include all of these, either we have to consider only common parts, but that's not the situation. The situation is, okay, you have to comply with the EU AI Act, then you have to comply with all of their required procedures, like whether whatever I mentioned for high risk, low risk, and according to, we will get classified to it and make a compliant and technology standards like this. So every time, you're physically outside of EU or any like even they are sitting the European Union innovators, they are sitting in European Union, they have to comply with Indian AI Act. Maybe we might witness an AI Act in upcoming years. So that's the cross compliance, and this cross compliance perspective, if you have something common safety standards, that's the minimum that we need to take. And addition and subtraction to that, it's a collaboration between multi-states that we need to consider. In conclusion, like companies operate across India, and EU must comply with relevant regulation in India and each territory. And more importantly, they must design AI system that satisfy not just not just their territory, but it's a cross compliance. So as per our regulatory standard as well. Yeah, so if we understand the risk, use good quality data, keep humans involved, protect systems from misuse, and keep monitoring performance, we can create AI that people feel confident using, and that's our line for this AI summit as well. Like welfare all, happiness for all. Yeah. I think okay. I'm done with this presentation. In presentation, is mostly like okay. It's the same what I mentioned. I forgot to fly slide. It's cross compliance, technical meaning, which is some of the gray areas, some of the considering data law. We have different data law. Now we are getting compliant with the IT Act with just 60/60, and with rules from the AI. We are just relying on them, but it's okay. We are innovating, and for that we have this sandbox that world can consider. Okay. I think I'm summing it. Right? Yeah.
Thank you, Lalit, for discussing about the complaints part. Now I invite Dr. Vid Dokal, so to discuss on AI safety, especially with a perspective on cross compliance, Indo and Europe.
Thank you very much, Umesh. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be here, actually. And I'm very thank you, Ramesh and CDEC team, for organizing such an important event. And I also thank Indian government and His Excellency Prime Minister Modi for organizing AI Summit, which is very important. And we are participating there also in our booth. So if you want to see Czech booth in Expo, you are welcome to come to Hall 6. My name is Vid Dokal. My background is law as well, so I think it will be a session of lawyers. That's great. And let me please give you some insight of our projects and how we actually are ensuring trustworthiness of AI systems. Let me speak first about Clara. Clara is a center of excellence funded by European Union and Czech state by more than 43 million euros. And we are trying to make a benefit of emerging technologies, not only AI, ML, but also large language models and HPC and quantum computers as well, to understand things and aspects which actually we couldn't understand before because we didn't have these technologies in our hands. Obviously, when the ChatGPT was released, 2022, I guess, yeah, and first quantum computer in Europe, I'm not speaking on the IBM's one, but at least the academics ones, they were actually installed last year. So now we have these technologies in our hands, and we can try to understand very, very different aspects, very complex aspects, multimodal, nonlinear aspects in our brain within the scope of these technologies, which is great, but we should not forget the compliance side. Because if we are trying to understand the processes, to understand why neurons, for example, are not living for more than 100 years, although they are supposed to live for 100 years, and why other cells, for example, which are supposed to die, like cancer cells, are not dying, we need to understand the optimal performance of the system at the cellular level and understand more the cellular signaling pathways. Therefore, we need to use very large amount of data, which means privacy, which means compliance, at least from the perspective of lawyers, but actually in Europe, and I believe also here in India, not in all countries in the world, but we agreed in Europe and in India that technology goes hand in hand with trustworthiness of the system. January 22nd in Prague, we organized official pre-summit event, which was actually acknowledged by AI Summit, AI Impact Summit India. And you might see that also First Secretary of the Indian Embassy in Prague was visiting this event, because actually it's very important to discuss how to ensure the trustworthiness of the systems, even in the development, even in research. As you know, AI Act, it's applicable for technologies which are entering the market. But if you are doing errors within the innovation, or bias or something, you could never ensure the trustworthiness and AI Act compliance when you are entering the market. So we need to think about that well advanced, although it's not applicable at that time, but it will be applicable, so we need to think about that right away. So actually there are two main questions when you are dealing with AI systems in healthcare, at least in Europe. It's not only about AI Act, it's also about medical device regulation. Because AI system is a medical device, or could be understood as medical device. So the first question, if you are a developer of such a system serving the clients in EU, is whether there is the applicability of medical device regulation, MDR. Because if it is, then you need to do more paperwork. Then the question is, the second question is, if it is applicable, MDR, then how do you set your metrics to validate the trustworthiness? How do you assess the trustworthiness? What are your metrics? Bias detection, accuracy. How do you actually prove the regulator and notified body that it's explainable and it could be used? So we actually developed and discussed, and actually at that meeting, it was public bodies or public authorities there, notified body, the Czech Meteorological Institute. It's a body who's actually putting the approvals. So we discussed the 4-layer framework, how to define this, let's say, process, even in the research and innovations period. The first is some kind of due diligence, pre-market validation. It's a kind of due diligence to risk assessment, risk classification, most things what Walid actually was explaining. The second is that you need to track the process, the workflow. Because, there is a lot of aspects in the workflow. Cross-site compliance must be assured during the whole process. So you have due diligence, you have the process workflow assessment, and then you have to assure that it's actually valid across the time, because some data are longitudinal. So it means that the population changes, and it should be actually validated across the time as well. And last but not least is the human-centered validation, because who would be liable when errors occur? So would your physician say, "Oh, sorry, I did bad medication because the AI system"? No, it's always about the human. And you might not know, but in some cases we go even beyond the AI Act with respect to ethics, which is called digital humanism principle, because the statement is that actually we are failing. We are failing because the technologies sometimes, are in front of us sometimes, but we cannot fail. And the digital humanism principles was signed 5 years ago in Poisdorf, in Austria, also by the Czech Republic, and it was acknowledged not only by European Commission as a driving principle, but also UN, United Nations. So it's not an act, it's not a regulation, it's an ethical principle we should consider. Big data needs big processing capacities. So I'm very happy to announce that very soon, May 1st, we will launch AI Factory project. It's 40 million investment, 40 million euros investment for 3 years to support AI services in Europe. So imagine you have a spin-off company or a startup, and you need AI service, some maybe experts from university that will help you with maybe validate your language model, and you need robust processing, robust computational power. You just call us, you go, and you get it. Of course, there must be a good success story. It's not for all, but for great ideas. But you basically receive this service for free. INDRC is responsible to be the entry point for AI services in healthcare and biotech. And Czech Technical University, which is my second affiliation, is for advanced manufacturing, industrial AI services. Moreover, INDRC, with kind help of Lalit, is actually the entry point for startup support, business development, and legal and ethical services. So, one question to you: how innovators from India could have access to these services? European Union and India signed the landmark agreement, the trade agreement, just 3 weeks ago. And we need to implement it. We need to accelerate the business, and we have tools to support it. And this is my last slide. Just yet.